Imagine buying an old wine cabinet, thinking you're about to score the deal of a lifetime, only to find out it comes with nightmares, unexplained illnesses, and a spirit that seems to have a personal vendetta against your happiness. That's the Dybbuk Box, a dusty little antique with a resume so cursed it makes every horror movie prop look tame. This seemingly innocent piece of furniture gained fame, or infamy, when it popped up on eBay in the early 2000s, complete with a backstory that could have been ripped straight from a ghost hunter's fever dream. Paranormal activity, mysterious health issues, and ruined lives were all allegedly packed inside, just waiting for the next unlucky owner. But here's the real question. Is this the most cursed item in history? A misunderstood relic of Jewish folklore? Or just a brilliant way to profit off of people's fear of spooky stuff? Let's dig into the strange, sinister, and sometimes ridiculous story of the Dybbuk Box. Let's start with the basics. What exactly is a Dybbuk? In Jewish folklore, a Dybbuk is the spiritual equivalent of a house guest who refuses to leave and takes over your life in the process. These restless, malevolent spirits don't move on to the afterlife like polite, well-adjusted ghosts. Oh no. Instead, a Dybbuk attaches itself to the living, usually with some sort of unfinished business to resolve, or more often, to wreak absolute havoc. The name Dybbuk comes from a Hebrew word that I'm about to try to pronounce, and I know that I'm going to say it wrong because if you listen to my other podcast, 10 Minute Murder, you know sometimes I don't do words good. Okay, it's Dybbuk, I think. Dybbuk, meaning to cling or to adhere, which is a pretty fitting description for a spirit that won't let go. But don't think of it as your average moody poltergeist knocking over picture frames. A Dybbuk takes possession to the next level, often invading the host's body and mind, influencing their behavior, and generally being the world's worst roommate. It's not just a haunting, it's a hostile takeover of your whole existence. According to the lore, Dybbuks don't show up randomly. They're often tied to unresolved sins, debts, or wrongdoings, and their goal is to complete whatever earthly mission they failed at in life. Sounds noble, right? Except their method of choice usually involves tormenting their host into the ground. So in essence, they're the ultimate toxic presence. Kind of like your mother-in-law, completely uninvited and impossible to evict because, well, they're ghosts. Throughout Jewish folklore, Dybbuks serve as a cautionary tale, often used to explain personal struggles, illness, or even bad luck. And while the stories of these spirits are rooted in cultural and spiritual traditions, they've taken on a life of their own in modern interpretations, becoming the inspiration for countless horror movies, ghost stories, and even cursed objects, like the Dybbuk Box. But more on that chaos magnet in a bit. The Dybbuk Box, as the name suggests, is no ordinary wine cabinet. It's a supposed paranormal prison designed to trap a restless Dybbuk inside, a kind of spiritual Tupperware. But instead of leftover spaghetti that's going to stain the inside, it's holding a ghost with anger management problems. The story really kicked off in 2003 when Kevin Mannis, an antiques dealer who apparently never saw a horror movie in his entire life, bought the box at an estate sale. The previous owner, a Holocaust survivor, supposedly passed down one critical piece of advice: do not open it. That's it, one rule. Naturally, Kevin ignored it faster than someone double-tapping a sketchy email link. When he pried the box open, Kevin found a collection of items straight out of a horror movie starter pack. Locks of hair, a dried rose, a candlestick, and a small note written in Hebrew that probably said something along the lines of, "Don't say we didn't warn you." At first glance, it looked like a random assortment of junk, but Kevin's life would soon spiral into chaos, suggesting this junk might be more like supernatural breadcrumbs. Once the box was in his home, things took a hard turn to the realm of the unexplainable. Kevin experienced a barrage of eerie phenomena. Recurring nightmares of a demonic woman, shadowy figures lurking just beyond his vision, and a bizarre, unrelenting smell of cat urine that persisted despite there being no actual cat. But the box didn't stop at haunting Kevin's dreams and senses. It expanded to anyone who came into contact with it. Family members reported suffering sudden strokes, heart attacks, and unexplained illnesses after touching the cursed cabinet. It was as if the box was marking its territory with cat pee, maybe, leaving a destruction in its wake. Kevin quickly came to terms with one horrifying reality. He wasn't dealing with your standard creepy antique. This box was the Super Bowl of hauntings, playing in the big leagues of paranormal torment. And unfortunately for everyone else, Kevin wasn't the box's final owner. When this Dybbuk box moved on to other collectors, its reign of terror only grew. Subsequent owners reported eerily similar experiences: financial devastation, broken relationships, health crises, and horrifying nightmares. Jason Haxton, a museum creator and one of the box's later custodians, claimed the object nearly ended his life. He endured mysterious illnesses, from coughing up blood to full-body rashes, before finally deciding enough was enough. Taking a page out of biblical lore, Haxton sealed the box in an ark-like container and locked it away, probably muttering something like, "Cat pee, never again." By now, the Dybbuk box had firmly secured its place as one of the most infamous haunted objects in modern history, leaving skeptics and believers alike debating whether it's a cursed artifact or just a really bad antique with an even worse reputation. Either way, it's safe to say it's not holding anyone's Merlot anytime soon. Of course, no cursed object's resume is complete without a cameo from the reigning monarch of ghost hunting himself, Zach Bagans. The Ghost Adventure star snapped up the Dybbuk box and made it the centerpiece of his haunted museum in Las Vegas, where it's proudly displayed as the crown jewel of his ever-expanding collection of terrifying artifacts. Because why wouldn't you want a malevolent spirit encased in a wine cabinet hanging out just a few feet from your workspace? According to Zach, the Dybbuk box has not mellowed with age. In fact, he claims it continues to stir up strange activity, like unexplained technical malfunctions and spooky on-set shenanigans during the taping of his show. Because, of course, if an object is going to be cursed, it's going to milk its camera time for all it's worth. Maximum paranormal drama, minimal chill. The box's notoriety has only grown, with ghost enthusiasts flocking to the museum to see if they can sense its alleged power. Whether it's the real deal or a masterclass in haunted branding, the Dybbuk box has firmly secured its place in the Paranormal Hall of Fame. Its reign of terror has made it one of the most talked about haunted objects in the world, earning both the legion of believers and a fair share of skeptics. Is it cursed? Is it all just clever storytelling with a side of atmospheric lightning? Or is it just a little bit of both? Whatever your theory, one thing is certain: no one's cracking it open to stash a bottle of Chardonnay anytime soon. And of course, not everyone is buying into the Dybbuk box's haunted reputation. Skeptics have pointed out that the now infamous eBay listing might not have been a genuine warning, but rather a cleverly spun ghost story designed to sell an antique with a side of terror. Kevin Manis, the man behind the original sale, even admitted to embellishing parts of the story, because who doesn't love a little dramatic flair? That said, Manis still insists the box is truly haunted, standing by its eerie legacy even as doubts grow. So what's the real story? Is the Dybbuk box a malevolent spirit's prison, or just an antique with a killer marketing strategy? Then there's the cultural perspective. Jewish scholars have weighed in on the phenomenon, pointing out that the Dybbuk box doesn't align with traditional Jewish folklore. In these stories, a Dybbuk is a spirit that takes possession of a person, not an object. There's no ancient precedent for trapping a Dybbuk in a wine cabinet, no matter how well crafted it might be. Scholars argue that the box is more than likely a misunderstood relic that's been hijacked by pop culture and ghost hunters eager for a spooky centerpiece. In their view, the Dybbuk box might owe more to Hollywood than to history. And finally, let's talk psychology. Some experts suggest the Dybbuk box's curse is a classic case of the power of belief. If you're convinced an object is cursed, every minor inconvenience starts to feel like part of its wrath. Stub your toe, it's the box. Your favorite pin goes missing. That damn box. Human brains love a good narrative, and the Dybbuk Box offers the perfect excuse to connect random misfortunes into one ghostly storyline. Ultimately, the Dybbuk Box may be a mix of folklore, modern storytelling, and our own need to explain the unexplainable. Whether you see it as a general paranormal artifact or a brilliantly executed urban legend, one thing's for sure, it's a tale that refuses to stay locked away. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of 10-Minute Mystery. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit subscribe and leave a review. It helps more curious minds discover the show. And if you're hungry for more stories like this, maybe a little bit creepier, check out my other podcast, 10-Minute Murder, where I dive into true crime stories that are brief, bingeable, but more murdery. See you next time.